Welcome to America at Play. My co-host tonight is a lady in the know when it comes to having her pulse on what is going on in politics, especially in her home state of North Carolina, and a good friend of mine and my wife, Margo Eileen. Margo, welcome.
How are you, Butch?
Yeah, how are you doing?
I'm hanging in there. It's been
Good,
raining for
good.
weeks. I feel like we're
Yeah,
never
same
going to get
here.
out of rain.
Well, here's a good thing. We're in the mountains, so we're the
Yeah,
last
it's
ones that
cool
need an arc.
rain. That's right, and it's
Uh,
cool rain.
Yep. Our guest tonight is the love of my life and my best friend, my wife, the fiery redhead herself, Eileen Cons.
Hey, Dave.
Ladies,
Hey,
welcome.
Margo.
Hey, how's it going,
Good to
Eileen?
see you. I see you next week, actually.
We will see each other next
Yes,
week
we
in
will.
Greensboro,
We will.
For the first
My
time
will.
in person.
which is where I grew up. That's where I grew up.
Oh, over in Greensboro?
Between Greensboro and High Point, a little town called Jamestown.
Okay. Well, next week, if we see each other, when we see each other, it'll be the first time
No,
we have
we're going to
actually
dinner.
seen each other in person.
Yes, it will.
Because we missed
you
each
were
other
not
last
with us.
year.
Yeah, we missed each other last year.
Yeah.
Okay, ladies. Our first topic, which we're all familiar with, is cyber stalkers and doxers.
Oops,
Now,
hold on. I got it all jacked up. Hold on. There we go.
Eileen, listen, you taking lessons from Sloan. She does that a lot. It must be the
Oh,
way
God.
that.
Well, I'm on this little table out in the living room, and it's just a literal like food tray table type thing. So I'm all cramped in here, and my all my good stuff's over here and all my bad stuff's over here, and I don't have my mouse, or it's a wreck. It's a wreck over here.
You did great.
All
So
right.
what's the first topic?
we're going to talk about cyber stalkers and doxers, which we all are familiar with. The three of us have a couple of cyber stalkers and that are harassing us in common. One of the problems is the state, and every state's different in cyber stalking. Our stalker from Georgia, as you know, has a lifetime ban against him by Angie Wong, who is our Florida president. Unfortunately, North Carolina is not quite as strong as Florida is, but here's the good part. In talking to our attorneys and our present board member, former U.S. federal head prosecutor for the Eastern District of North Carolina, Bobby Higdon, there are very, very strong cyber stalking and harassment federal laws, completely different from the state laws. So in some of these situations, we have to start out with the state, but we are going to be walked right through the front door for the federal. And hopefully in a shorter amount of time, we will be able to take care of this problem, ladies. I know it's stressful, and it's, you're dealing with people who are crazy. They're not mentally stable, for lack of a better word. They also, in a couple instances, are arbitrage against society, welfare people. They don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out. So they think they have nothing to lose until they go to jail. And that's the goal. Margo, as a co-host, what's your thought on this?
Well, I mean, I spent a lot of time looking at the laws in California, Texas, and Colorado and Florida compared to North Carolina's, which is very, very weak. And then I compared the conviction rate. And in North Carolina, it's only a 17% conviction rate for cyber stalking. And there is no separated harassment law. So even if we get to the federal level, which I don't know I never even thought about that, but I do know the law in North Carolina has to be changed. When you have a 17% conviction rate, that means it's a crappy law.
Correct. Agreed.
So a bunch of us got together, and I couldn't go because it was, I mean, going to Raleigh for me is like going to Tallahassee. It's equally as far. And so I offered to give some of my stories about what has happened to me, people getting sealed records, involving my child, who's not a child. She's a grown adult, but she's still my kid. And calling my work, getting a hold of all of my volunteer organizations, trying to ruin my reputation within the NCGOP, harassing me here, there, and everywhere, completely and blatantly making up lies. And I let them take that story to the North Carolina legislature as we lobby to get the cyberstalking laws changed. And immediately after they left, the friends that went, the people that are also being stalked, immediately, yeah, me too. Immediately after we left the legislature, and that she found out, the major stalker found out, she emailed all 180 legislative people and let them know exactly that we all know that she's freaking nuts because she put herself on their radar. She included a piece of video, not of me, but of someone else she stalked. And in the video, it was not even in North Carolina. It didn't make any sense. But the point is that even when we're trying to change the law, she's harassing us.
Well, because she's not mentally stable, Margo. The same person is harassing and cyber stalking Eileen and I. Okay, this woman has been in court for cyber stalking 9 times in 8 different counties. There is a list, and I've talked to every one of them. There's a list of people in line wanting to be plaintiffs on a federal charge against her. So that's the way we're going to have to go because North Carolina is so weak. Fortunately, we have a really strong former U.S. prosecutor on our board. So,
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I really had no faith in the federal government getting involved until I had a conversation with the FBI myself. And I had a conversation with a journalist who's been stalked quite a bit, and he gave me the appropriate ropes that need to be followed. I did not realize that, electronic devices didn't have to be over the state lines. They actually could be in the state. I didn't know that. I didn't ask the question to know that when I was talking to the FBI.
Well, here's the other thing about the state line. It doesn't have to be over state lines, but if it is over state lines, that makes it an even more serious charge by federal law. So, Eileen, what's your thoughts on this? Yep. What's your thoughts on this, Fred?
I mean, these people are insecure misanthropes to begin with. They're weak by nature. Odds are that they have a mental illness and a personality disorder. They most likely are insignificant and largely ignored, either at home or at their place of work.
They don't work.
If they work, or okay, so if someone doesn't work, then they're most likely ignored and considered insignificant at home. Their mental illness makes them seek some sort of control, and this is what they have. This is their format to have control. They hate everybody. They hate everybody, and they hate themselves. I liken this one stalker that we have to someone who is the kind of person where people in her life die to get away from her, because that's about the only thing you can do. So I'm sure she's had a lot of family members that have fallen off the trees over the course of the years.
Sister.
What?
Including your sister. She is a very lonely person. She says she can't work. She's on disability, so we get to pay for her. But she has all damn day to 4 minutes to put out a post.
And here's something else. I've also heard that she keeps saying that she's indigent. So how can she afford a blue tick on X if she's
interesting? Her mommy.
So without any. And then you said something that there's only 17% of convictions here in North Carolina I mean, how does that law read? Because I heard something yesterday that made a lot of sense. Look at if you're going to make a law, you write these laws, you have an idea. Your idea is going to appeal and resonate and be understood by a fifth grader. I mean, that's how everything is written nowadays, right? You know, all newspapers, that sort of stuff. It's written so fifth grade education can understand it. If we have a law that you have to bring in the teachers to discuss it, then we need to dial back on that law and see and see what needs to make it better, make it more simple. It's so overcomplicated. We don't need that law. I like the fact that your friends are going down and talking to legislatures about this.
Yeah, I think the law is it's not strong enough, and it has allowed judges to say that most things are free speech when they're not. It's not free speech to harass me and continue to do it daily and talk and call people in my life. It's not. That's just not. It's just not.
So it's overcomplicated, or it's
100%.
not tight enough.
It's not. Well, the harassment. See, they put cyberstalking and harassment in one law, and they don't really do the definitions clean enough. You can't. You have to really find a way to correlate the cyberstalking and harassment. And what is happening in the courtrooms is there was a ruling in the Supreme Court of North Carolina around it that basically said if you can say anything you want, it's free speech. But at what point is it this pattern of free speech that draws over the line? When you reach out to my kid
Or your work,
or my work
or your
or my
neighbors, or
corporation?
right. That's the nice thing about, you know, the one of the male stalkers, the felon from Georgia. That's the nice thing about he's already been convicted as of March of this year in a Miami court and Angie Wong was the victim on a lifetime order. He's broken it probably 40 times by now, and it's going through the system. My understanding is he's got to go back in front of the same judge sometime next week. But in the meantime, the judge has moved it up to the state attorney general. I asked Bobby what that meant, and what Bobby told me, and somebody today told Eileen and I, that means that the judge is telling the state prosecuting attorney there is some criminal activity going on here. So, you know, it's unfortunately the system is slow, and COVID is a really good excuse for it to be even slower today. But we will make it happen. Most people don't have the backbone to stick with it. We're gonna make sure these people go to jail.
I'll believe it when I see it. I think North Carolina is weak, and I think they
They
allow.
are.
You know, listen, if there's no difference between what they are doing and what an abuser does. The difference is somebody is accused of abuse, there may be a restraining order or some type of no contact order given. None of that is ever done in these situations, which the law should maintain that there's a no contact order till you go to court, period.
I agree.
So who do we talk to?
Well, I think the legislature,
Legislators.
the legislature, the body itself has to be bipartisan. Actually, you know, there's there's kind of independents. They're libertarian-ish, and there's Democrats and Republicans, and you have to appeal to all of them and show them that this isn't just happening to Republicans; it happens to everybody.
Correct.
And we have some good buy-in,
Correct.
but there's never enough buy-in. So the goal is they're in the middle of crossover right now at the legislature, meaning the Senate, the North Carolina Senate has sent their bills to the House and vice versa. So we won't be able to get it into this session anyway. So the best thing is to introduce it now and reintroduce it and continue to put the pressure on them in the next legislative session.
Agreed. You know, one more thing on this subject, and we're going to move on to the next subject, is I personally get a kick out of, like, our boy in Georgia, both our guys in Georgia, our girl here in North Carolina. If you look at their X accounts and you don't research it, they have followers. But what we've done is we've researched it, and Eileen can back this up, Margo. We've researched it, and what they do is they buy those followers through MailChimp. And most of them are from places like Vietnam or over in Asia. They're not true followers. And them claiming they have, I got 3,000 followers is bullshit. Your followers are legit. Okay?
Yeah,
The
so
few followers I have are legit. But these stalkers, their followers aren't legit.
well, I want to talk about the follower thing for a second. I have spent years organically growing a following, and I have cultivated that all by myself. And this to me is probably the worst thing because I cannot keep my TikTok open, which has over 150,000 followers on it. I cannot keep my Facebook open because these people will take my personal information or take videos or take anything I write over there, which I do not use the same name on all platforms for a reason, because I have a real job. And they will put them on X and just, go through my life or change the words on a video that I made to make it say something I didn't say. So, they're in effect trying to ruin my social media career and credibility.
Correct. And they're doing it being stupid and not knowing what the hell they're talking about. We had something
They don't
today that
care.
came out by our female North Carolina stalker. And what she wrote was so completely full of shit that it's hilarious, but she actually thinks she knows what she's talking about. And
Well,
she
no,
doesn't have a
And
clue.
that's the frightening part.
But you don't understand. She does not care. Her point isn't because of you or I and what she's talking about. It's relating it to an audience and acting as if it's factual so they'll believe it.
Well, and not only that, you're looking at somebody who has nothing. Most people like that are very jealous. They resent people who are successful, which, let's face it, the three of us on this board right now are very successful and have been our whole lives. And that's the other thing, that they're losers. I mean, that's the best way I know how to put it. They're losers.
Well, listen, let me just say
So,
this to you. She really brags about her $95,000 a year salary that she made when she was working. I'm sure she has no idea how much I make, and I would never tell her, but it's a hell of a lot more than $95,000.
you betcha. Same here.
Well, that's the thing. It's a
Same
jealousy.
here,
I
girl.
mean, it's a jealousy thing. And it's that jealousy with the personality disorder. I mean, she's going to do this. I hope that we find a way to stop her. Look at it. I hope we find a way to stop the jackass down in Georgia. I mean, he's crazy. We know he's crazy. He can't come off his psych. Yeah. He can't come off his psych meds without a court order. So, and here's something kind of funny: is she's doing the same thing that he does, which is he's inventing a story and putting out there as if it's real, just like you said, right, Margo? Because it's really about, how she's getting that story out. What she's doing is she's repeating everything that the Georgia guy is saying. So why would she do that? My question is she getting paid? Probably, most likely getting paid. Number two,
from the Georgia guy.
From the Georgia guy, right? Because that's his MO.
Yeah.
And the other thing is she's saying stuff that honestly Stan does. She's saying things about us and our business that Stan does. We're not an LLC. Stan's an LLC. Stan's collected money. So she's heard what he has to say. She seems to be entirely fine with it because she's getting some money. And that's the last thing she's going to get out of us.
I hope she gets some shackles.
Yes.
We're sure going to try, girl. We're sure going to try. And I'm going to say there's a better chance than not that she will. So,
Well,
okay, ladies, let's go on
on
to the
to-
next subject.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just to say, on
Let's
to
go.
who ran the White House under Biden.
Yeah.
Yeah, who ran the White House under Biden?
I know.
Margo?
I know.
All right, if you know, run with it.
Monkeys ran the Biden White House.
Oh,
I
God.
mean, serious, think about it.
It's looking more and more like jilted more than people realized. Although I think we're not idiots. We all knew. You could see it. Everybody knew what was going on. I think now it's being confirmed.
Yes.
Well, here's the question. If Jill Biden, Hunter Biden, or any other of his aides inside the White House behind closed doors ran that administration, the question is that treason?
Oh, absolutely.
It's not by the definition of treason. It's actually not.
Seriously. No.
It isn't. It may meet the definition. There are other things. It's conspiracy. It's conspiracy for sure. But unless we can prove that they were trying to do this to overthrow our government to give it to another country, I don't know that it meets the definition of treason. Now, they may be able to prove that because there may be money in somebody's pocket from China that that would, to me, it'd be a leap.
Yeah.
But at the very least, there's conspiracy, there's fraud, there's a lot of other things, but I'm not sure based on the definition of treason, like what we want to believe and what is true in the law are different, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Me too.
And Margo, you're right. The word of treason is giving information to a foreign entity that would hurt the country or overthrow the country. Now, the China thing is not as far-fetched as you think, because a lot of money went to Hunter Biden and Joe Biden, or Jim Biden, Joe's brother. And we had the whole thing about the big guy. That's all around China. Okay. So if they find that out, then it's a whole different ballgame. Then it could be on 2 or 3 of them could be treason. The ones inside the White House that were running the show, conspiracy for sure. Whatever else they could come up with, it sure as hell wasn't legal what they were doing. So it'll be interesting to see what they come up with.
Okay, I did a grok real quick, right? And it says, because I want to make sure you guys know, I actually gone down this rabbit hole before, and it says Section 3 is levying war against the United States or adhering to its enemies, giving them aid and comfort. It requires 2 witnesses to the same overt act or confession in an open court for conviction. So basically, treason is a crime that is really about overthrowing the government to another country, right? Espionage, which is kind of what they're doing, covert, subversive.
Yes.
America.
Point.
Yes.
Good point.
Like it.
Bingo. You just hit it. Espionage. That's what it is.
However way you want to look at it.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to say,
listen.
listen.
Necessarily know that because that's what they tried to say that Trump did. Remember when they were trying to say I can't even remember all the stupid things they tried to charge him with, but they tried to say that he had committed espionage over the things that happened down at Mar-a-Lago and that he had released documents that were private and proprietary. Well, that's no different than what they're doing with the Bidens. They're actually literally writing documents that should never be let out. So isn't that a form of espionage?
Yeah.
When you pardon
absolutely.
these randos.
Well, see, that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing on this whole thing. If Biden does,
the auto pen.
and we all know Biden didn't know what the hell was going on, but he supposedly signed a record amount of
pardons, 4,500 of them.
8,000 pardons, I think.
Oh, 8,000
pardons.
And it was like it had to have been a round robin. Oh, you want to get your people done? And now they think people were paying for those pardons.
Oh, undoubtedly. Undoubtedly.
But
Listen,
here's the
not only
question.
did they
Biden
auto
didn't
pen.
know-
Oh,
Go ahead.
go ahead. I'm on a little delay, so it's my fault if I'm cutting people off.
Now you're both not going to talk.
He's stuck. Are you stuck now, Butch?
You're breaking up.
Oh,
We
no.
just have some. We've got weather here, so it's probably our internet which is breaking up. Go ahead, hon. I'm sorry.
You're going to be doing a lot of. You're going to be doing a lot of editing.
A lot of editing. I'm just
It's
going to leave it in.
straight
Whatever.
over here, though. It's fine on this side.
Oh, good.
Well,
Good.
here's the thing. It may come out that all those pardons aren't worth the paper they're written on, because if Biden didn't know what he was signing or didn't sign them and they did it on their own, they ain't worth a shit. Sorry.
I think that's what they're trying to get down to, is to find out who knew what when.
100%.
And
Well-
listen, it's not just those pardons. Not he auto penned those pardons, but they also auto penned executive orders. So when you ask him about an executive order and he says, "Oh, I didn't do that. Why would I do that? It never was for that." Well, sure as shit, turns out it was auto penned, and that's what's really going to get them.
He signed a bill he doesn't remember signing, and and
Correct.
the Speaker of the House, said, "Why did you sign this liquid gas bill?" Basically,
That's what it was.
Yeah, and he said, "I didn't sign that," and yes, he did. Yes, he absolutely
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
So there are rumors. There are rumors of a collective of people, and there apparently is a whistleblower. So we may find out who was running the White House.
Oh, there is a whistleblower.
Oh, there's
Well,
a whistleblower.
I think we take bets on this. Okay, I'm gonna throw two names out there who I think will run in the White House: Joe Biden and Barack Obama.
Well, the names that are out there aren't Jill is one of the names, but Barack Obama's name is not out there. However, one of his surrogates, Anita Dunn, is on that list.
Mm.
So
I'm going to say Jeff Zients, his chief of staff, and his security advisor, Sullivan, the guy who did the Afghanistan withdrawal.
He was not on that list. But
okay.
In the executive office, he had a chief of staff and an attorney advisor on his staff, his presidential staff, who was on the list.
Mm.
So we'll see.
Wasn't his chief of staff? Wasn't he the person who said that inflation is a oh God, what the hell did he say? Inflation is a higher. Oh, I'm drawing a blank. Damn it. Okay, moving on, because I cannot remember. I want to say first world problem, but that's not it. I think he said like a rich person's problem or something.
I don't know that, but I do know I don't think this is going to be handled lightly. Ed Martin, who is running the pardon investigation, who's really in a vengeance mood or vindictive mood after what the Senate has done. I don't think he's going to let this one ride now, especially that he has a witness or a whistleblower.
I mean, I hope that no stone goes unturned, honestly.
Okay, ladies, let's move on. Let's go. My favorite topic of the night, especially after today.
Wait a minute. Where am I at? Tariff income. Sorry. Look, I'm all off tonight.
Tariff income from April and May. Just yesterday, less than 24 hours ago, we had a 3-panel judges that tried to shut down the tariffs that Trump is putting on countries. They appealed it. The White House appealed it, and this afternoon they won the appeal, so the tariffs are still on. In April, those tariffs brought in over $17 billion. This month in May, they brought in over $22 billion.
Heard the same thing.
at this rate, the deficit will be paid off before he leaves office if it keeps going. So, Margo, what's your thought on this?
Well, I mean, first of all, the lawfare is just disgusting, and I'm glad to see that the court over that pretty quickly, because that court actually didn't even have jurisdiction over tariffs. But I think, I think what we're showing the world is America's back, and we mean it. We're going to take care of our kids by getting this debt down. And I think, based on the numbers you provided, if we were to track that for 1 year, we would we'd be over $1 trillion, which we have a few trillion we got to get to, but 1 trillion down. I think, what do we have to get? 30, how far are we over? 34, 37?
Last I knew 31, 35, but you're probably closer to the point.
Through that and other means, it's a good possibility we could actually make it to exactly where we think we need to be, Butch. And I just think, what I think is, it shows the world that we're not taking it anymore.
Yes.
Yep. I agree. Eileen, what's your thoughts?
And I think everybody's happy. Well, I'm to expand on what she's saying. I think everybody's happy. We're not taking it anymore. And why should it not? Look, it just needs to be fair. I understand that it's stalled a little bit with China. Matter of fact, Bessent was saying that this afternoon, that they were eager to talk. It stalled a little bit, but he's got people that are coming in. It's got to be like playing a 3-tiered 3D chess game, and all of the moves that they're making and all of the decisions that are happening. And, and I got to take my hat off to Scott Bessent. Remember when we sat with him at the rally?
On that show, yeah.
Nice guy, smart, sharp as a tack guy. I believe in him. I believe in my president, and I believe in his choice. And I believe in Scott Bessent on this. So more power to him. I applaud the man and give him all the kudos in the world for negotiating this stuff.
I just would like to see the bond market pick up as we prove that we're doing it. You know what I mean? Because we had some pretty ridiculous bond sales the other day, and that's a true tale about where America is and the fact our credit rating has been reduced. But if we get if we can really prove to the world this is working, and we can show where we've paid off certain things and gotten things in place, I think that'll reinvigorate our credit rating, and it will actually bring the confidence in the economy back up.
Well, here's the other thing that nobody's talking about, that is actually part of this tariff thing. Trump's bringing in trillions of dollars on business deals of foreign countries investing in manufacturing and stuff here. He went to the Middle East last week, and he came back with 3 deals, every one of them over $1 trillion. What people don't understand, and it's part of the tariffs, these guys jumped in before they got hit with the tariffs and said, we want to play. We're going to bring business to the U.S. We're going to put U.S. people to work, and it's the smartest thing they could have done.
It was a success.
People aren't talking about that, but the reason for the tariffs are to do that. You build it in Mexico, you build it in Mexico, we're going to tariff you 25% for that Chevrolet. You close that plant down, you bring that plant to the U.S., you can charge nothing.
I don't think
no-brainer once you get rolling.
I think the Democrats have done a good job of, especially because they own the mainstream media, of smoke screening what really took place in Saudi Arabia and in the Middle East. I don't think that I don't even think we've done enough touting about how important that was. I mean, that's really the first time a president has spent time I think it's ever spent time in the Middle East, even though we had troops on the ground there during the Gulf War. So it's a monumental thing that's taken place, and people just don't know it.
Agreed.
Right, and in a very short time period too.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Right.
Okay, ladies.
This one's the most exciting one.
This is a serious one. It
I know
truly
nothing
is.
about this.
Well, I did some reading up on this. It's a situation called the screwworm. It's been around for 70 years. And it was here in the U.S. 70 years ago. Okay, it's a flesh-eating parasite that is carried by flies. A certain
They
kind of fly,
eradicated it in the
okay?
60s.
Well, what they did 70 years ago is, and they have factories, one in Texas, one in Panama. There were several in the U.S. at one point that have since shut down, but there's still one in Texas. They take millions and millions of flies and they radiate them till they're sterile, and then they dump them over Mexico, over South America, over Panama, and those sterile flies get with the ones that are the flesh eating, and they basically eliminate them because they're not reproducing. Okay. Problem is they don't know what's happened, but there is a jungle between Panama and Colombia. Yeah, Colombia. That somehow this parasite has jumped this jungle. It is now 700 miles from Texas.
Oh my
Facts.
Oh my God, save the
Moving
Drummond
fast.
Ranch. They're in Oklahoma, and they're like the biggest commercial meat producers in the United States, aren't they?
They're one of them.
Cattle people.
But they're 700 miles, and they can't produce enough of these sterile flies because so many of the factories have shut down because they had it under control. That now it's moving towards the U.S. and there's nothing like they're trying to beat it, but everybody's in a panic because
Wow.
it eats away the flesh of cows, deer, you name it, but also
And your
human
pets.
beings.
And your pets too.
What the hell with the pets? You.
Listen,
And
you
humans.
get a screwworm eating Stella Grace. Oh my God. Or blue, you'd have a fit.
Well, you know what? It's funny. Why can't we put, like, we've got a dome, right? We're going to put in a dome. Why can't we put those, that you've seen them in movies where they've had the lasers that go across, and I always have those by my pool in the summer because the flies get zapped. I wonder if they would work, if we could do something insane like that.
I don't know, but this is actually. I know it sounds a little science fiction,
It's sci-fi.
but it's actually very serious. And
Well, you know
I
what's
was a
even
little
more
shocked to
serious?
realize. Well, I was a little shocked to realize when I read it that it's been around for 70 years.
Wow.
They've
Well, it's been
fighting it.
longer than that. They eradicated it in the 60s. And so that means that it was around before the 60s, and then they made it all go away. And so now it's back. A couple things
Correct.
here. Think about this, is we have a 4-year gap of inactivity in this country. The Biden years, right? That nothing was done. I mean, we all know nothing was done. Buttigieg couldn't even, figure out how to save a plane couldn't figure out how to upgrade the system. So if he couldn't do that with transportation, who the hell was in charge of agriculture? Or this doomsday fly that's coming up here. So we've got this 4-year gap of backwards progress. Are we ready for this? I mean, do we have the right people in place? And if the right people that are in place, are they old Democrats who want to see us, a nation of powerlessness and doom and gloom? That's a big concern.
Here's one of the things that I read about this is during the COVID years, all the plants that did this radiation of these flies and created this, they were shut down. So for 2 years, these plants that were, creating these radiated flies that were killing this thing off didn't exist. They went 2 years.
The COVID backlog.
Anybody.
Oh my God. It's the COVID backlog that we all keep hearing about.
So here we are, 2-3 years after, COVID is finally over, and we've got it 700 miles from our border ladies. That is scary as hell. It really is.
Which is not far going to Oklahoma. And like I said, those Drummonds,
Right?
they're the largest cattle producers. I mean, I think they're the largest landowners, but they're the largest cattle producers of commercial beef in America. And that's scary. That's how close these bugs are to them.
Well, here's the other question, and I know this sounds a little far-fetched, but with all the illegals from South America that were let into the U.S. by the Biden administration, could any of these people or a bunch of these people have carried that parasite here or carried it up on their journey to here?
Well, we do know that they brought tropical diseases that have never been in America before. And we know that that's an issue in Texas and in Florida and in Arizona. And so I do know Tulane has spent a lot of money and effort trying to figure out how to curtail those and make sure they're documented, because there are some diseases we've never seen in America.
Right. All right. And like I said, did they bring it up? That's where it was. They basically used Panama, from everything I've read, as the line of where to keep them, from Panama south, of where to keep this parasite. Now we have this situation. It's scary. It's very scary. Like Eileen said, we had 4 years of backwards politicians. I mean, we went backwards. We didn't move forward. We moved backwards, and on a lot of issues. So, yeah, it's scary.
Didn't we watch something today?
One, ladies.
Didn't we watch something today where they were doing a study on if you could or could not tickle yourself? So maybe we should take the money for that study and put it into identifying whether or not these bugs are going to take over the world.
You're close, Eileen.
It was something.
Our government, Margo, is spending millions of dollars to come up with the proper definition of what tickling is.
Oh my God.
Something like that. Yeah.
That's what it was. And I looked at Eileen and I said, are you kidding? Like, seriously, this is what we're spending. And when I say millions, they were talking, it's like $800 million they're trying to come up with the proper definition of what tickling is. I mean, I can tell you in 3 seconds what it is. It's pretty simple.
And these bugs hurt too. Yeah. They say that when they bite you and they bury the larva into the skin, they say that it hurts too as it sits there and tries.
Well, they're like flies. They're flies, and they're very similar to a horsefly that carries the parasite.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's terrible.
Nasty stuff.
Oh, that's our summer.
On to the flies that hang out in courtrooms.
Oh, yeah. This is the last one, but this is a good one. The P. Diddy trial. I'm surprised they haven't hung him like Epstein because they're afraid of who's on the list. Right? The guy's still alive. He's got good lawyers. But
he hasn't been suicided yet.
Eileen, take us away on this one.
Well, I don't know. What I have heard thus far, I mean, first off, he is not the mogul that nowadays that he was a couple years ago. I mean, he's gray, he's big, thick glasses on, muted colors, a sweater over the top of them. I mean, he is just not the man that they once, he's not looking good. But I heard that they're saying that the prosecutors may have overcharged him and that they may not be able to charge him with anything, that he could get off on this. So what are you guys thinking about this? Because that's what I just heard about it in the last couple of days.
Well, a lot of this is based on RICO law. So, I mean, I think, there's a separate civil trial, that's starting up right now for the victims. So I really think first of all, the federal prosecutors aren't going to bring a RICO case if they don't have it. Secondly, they haven't proven anything to me other than that he treats and abuses women, and that there's more speculation out there than there is fact. I don't care how many. Why would you put that woman on the stand, 8 months pregnant, and make her recite all that stuff day after day for like 7 days? That's just crazy.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they corroborated it. So, I mean, P. Diddy's going to jail. There's no two ways about that. What he's going to jail for is a whole different story.
It seems domestic what he did.
It does.
Yeah, what he should have been charged with is domestic abuse on many occasions with many different women. Okay. Possibly prostitution. That's a possibility. RICO's a stretch. RICO's a really big stretch in this because they're not going after Diddy and 5 of his buddies. They're going after Diddy. And you have to have at least 2 that conspire together to create a criminal act to have a RICO. I think the federal government has overcharged him. And I agree with you, Margo. He's going to jail for something. It may be a short period of time. It's not going to be a long time, but he's going to jail for something because they're so far in now. There's no way they could not have him go to jail. Okay.
Oh, he's going to
They've
jail.
already had OJ. Yeah. But like Eileen said, and everybody's talking about it, and there's a lot of truth to it, is they really overcharged him as of right now, from all the witnesses that have been on the stand. They haven't got near RICO. It's like both of you ladies said, it's a domestic abuse thing. It's prostitution, but it's not RICO.
Is there child trafficking or some adult trafficking in this too? No, nothing.
You don't
Okay.
know yet.
They charged him with trafficking.
Okay.
Yeah, there's been speculation about minors, but he's not been charged with minors. There's been no proof of minors, but there has been trafficking of women. That's one of the charges.
It doesn't seem as salacious as the Jeffrey Epstein issues, where everybody was on Epstein Island, everybody was flying there, and Prince who and who.
I think it is salacious like that. I think they're doing a better job of hiding who he's been with for now. But they haven't really given us a list of who's been at those Diddy parties with all that baby oil and all. But I do believe, I think you're going to see some names that'll shock you. Like Kamala Harris and some people, Jay-Z. Listen, I'm not into rap. I don't like any of those people. They don't do it for me. I don't listen to that music. But I do think there's going to be a lot of people on that list that are going to surprise people.
Well, I'm waiting for it then. I'm going to be with my notebook.
Who's the guy? Who's the guy who took Sheen's place on 2.5 Men?
Charlie Sheen's place on Ashton Kutcher.
He's already been named.
Yep.
Oh, has he?
Yeah, the guy who starred in the Titanic.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, he's been named. He's already been named. So there's some names already starting to come out, and I think you're going to see a lot more. It's going to be crazy. There's even some female names that have come out. J-Lo just over the weekend, they came out with J-Lo.
Certain.
So, I think
it wasn't just men. It wasn't just men. I mean, it was women too.
Oh yeah. But listen, you know what they have in common besides P. Diddy? They're all Democratic donors. So take them all down.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And they didn't get pre-exemptive pardons? Or preemptive pardons?
Well, they actually thought they were going to have 4 more years to put him in jail for good.
That's true.
Yeah.
True.
So that'll be something to keep for a while, to keep an eye on, because you're going to see a lot more come out. Like Margo said, you're going to see a lot more names come out. I think you're going to see some politicians come out. I wouldn't be surprised if the guy who just got convicted, the Republican congressman from New York, what's his name?
Santos.
We got to go, babe, because Margo's got to go.
Santos. Okay. All right. Well, listen, guys, ladies, it was fun. It was a good show. Hope to see you back soon. In
Absolutely.
the meantime, I actually wrote this, ladies.
Oh Lord.
Um,
She's waiting to go, honey.
I hope everyone enjoyed the show. I'd like to thank my co-host Margo Eileen and our guest Eileen Cons for joining me today. And until next time, keep America great.
Thank you, Butch. Thanks, Eileen. Good to see you.
We're
Bye.
you too. We're out, ladies.